My feet are blistered and I'm a little sniffly, but I have my torch of the day, which I'm mostly just using for this video, just day 14, torch running for Ukrainian war orphans, endless running days, 1,170. But this is to tell you about a dream I had. So I had this dream and I was in a canoe and it was sinking from the weight of a extremely large, like old school boat. I did not, first, a little preface, today is the day that the Titanic sank. And I've had this dream a long time ago, but before I saw that about today, this is why I'm sharing the dream. But I was listening, I go back over and listen to my dreams sometimes. So I was listening to my dream and wow, I was just like, that's crazy. That's a crazy dream. And then I found out about the Titanic, so I was like, okay, I'll share this tonight. I really felt too like it almost feels like and not scary, but like a warning. I don't know if you know what it is to get a warning from God, but it's like God's trying to speak about something serious, like giving a forewarning. And so yeah, that's what I really feel to talk about. But so this boat was sinking and I get on it to warn everybody and I'm yelling, "Get off the boat, get off the boat." And no one's listening, so I run to the captain's quarters and I knew the captain and I said, "Captain, the boat is sinking." And he said, "No, that's impossible. That's impossible. The boat's not sinking." I was like, "Yes, the boat is sinking." He's like, "No, it can't sink." And I was like, "Yes, it can." And then I was like, "But look, it already did." And I pointed up at the walls and all of the captain's logs and the books were soaking wet. They had been completely saturated with water from having sunk before. And the captain's literally still in denial, lays down on the floor and closes his eyes. And he's like, "This boat can't sink." And I got off the boat, as it was sinking. And what I feel about that is, um, today is National Look Up Day, but I think it's also a day to look at where we are and who we're with because a lot depends on who our captain is. And a lot depends on if we're being a Jonah running away from what we're meant to do and hello. So yeah, everything has to do with not just um this hello, hello, hello. I was just telling a dream that I had. Hi. Thank you. Basically I had a dream of a sinking boat and the captain was in denial that it was sinking. And hello, hello, so many people on here. But yeah, the captain was in denial that it was sinking and I was trying to tell everyone to get off the boat. And he just closed his eyes and laid on the floor, and I got off the boat as it was sinking. Um, hello, hello. Good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. Um, so I guess the point is that as that applies to us is a lot of times we can be following someone where we're seeing signs that we're going down with them. It could be a boss, it could be, you know, some kind of thing that we're so devoted to or a bad habit, eating junk food. It could be so many things. And people could be like Jonah running away from the very thing that they're meant to do. And it could cause everyone around you to fail and sink. Um, or, pride, like the Titanic sinking, that was pride where he said, like, not realizing the obstacle in front of you. Um, wait, I would love to go deeper here. Hard drug face right here. She changed her path in life. Explain. This is interesting. Okay, I'll just share my story, 'cause, um, yeah, I have, like, a crazy story, of my life. Um, I grew up my dad was a minister, actually, but he was extremely abusive. You know what? So many people care about your story, Randoodle, because, like, it's our stories where, um, we make it to the other side that might help someone, but, my story is literally nothing without Jesus, because, my dad was so abusive. All me and my siblings were suicidal before, you know, we were even in high school, like, as little kids, And, during COVID, actually, my sister ran in front of a semi truck, and, she's a miracle, but, um you sound like you got hurt in life. I'm sorry about that. I was hurt too. I didn't like people. I was like you, I think. I thought I give up on people. I was like, "Oh my gosh, people are just um like, I don't trust them. I don't like them." My dad ruined them all for me. I couldn't forgive my dad. And yeah, I was really cynical, like, just literally was living for myself, and didn't care about the people around me, didn't care how my words affected other people. And I had that experience with Jesus where he changed my heart in a second, and he died to do that for all 8 billion people plus. Like, he is God. He's not like a human. If I gave my life for you, that would be like, "Okay, yeah, you're stupid 1 in 8 billion girl." But Jesus, who gave his life, that's what Jesus giving his life is what matters. And um that is the Son of God who just loved with all his heart. And, even people who, um, you too, but, what I read is that you're just another human that Jesus died for, and that, you know, maybe like others, which is okay if you don't. That's kind of how, um, life is. Life gets you down. People break your trust. People are retarded a lot, but God, even meeting people like you, everyone just makes Jesus so much better. I'm like, dude, Jesus is the best. Like, no human compares to him. I love him so much. There's literally no one like God. He's beautiful. I'm not saying anything is wrong in your life. I'm just saying I understand where you're coming from. I used to be like that in my head. I wasn't trolling on YouTube, but I was thinking a lot like that. Just like people are jokes. But um since Jesus, not that you care, but I'm on a quest, like, over trying over 1,000 days to save war orphans. And I went to Ukraine for the war, and saw some crazy stuff. And that's my life purpose now. Um so thank you, Ghost Snail. And Miguel. And yeah, thank you to Randoodle. Well, I gotta turn I'm sitting in the car. Oh, there's 20 of us. I have like 20 triplets. That's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. Honestly, like, I literally You guys probably think I'm like, I don't know, like 20. I'm actually 35, but 15 years ago, this is how long this has happened. 15 years ago, is when I gave up on life. I locked myself in a room. I stopped eating. I stopped drinking. Um, my dad would just like beat us all the time, just cuss us out all the time. And we just had to put on the show in front of others. And, you know, the way that Rand Doodle is talking to me is nothing like what my dad would do. You're actually kind, Rand Doodle. You're like lovely. um yeah, starting things. My dad would love to start things, but yeah, just hit us with everything he could find. Hopefully you're you're kind to the people around you, Rand Doodle. It's okay if you troll me. But anyways, so like all this happened, but I had this experience with Jesus where I saw what a horrible person I was. I was like, I am unable to love others. I'm not able to forgive my dad. I am not able to love or trust people. And it actually made me like insecure. Like I actually was like, I can't um even love people if I wanted to. And I just got to where I wouldn't look at the cashier in the eyes. I was just in my own like lane, and it was like very small and like about myself. And all of a sudden I had this experience with Jesus where it was like I could see or feel Jesus on the cross dying for me, not the good me that, maybe when I smile and say hi to people, but the ugly, horrible me that couldn't love, couldn't forgive, couldn't trust people, hated myself, hated life, like wondered like what kind of God is this? And I just felt him dying, loving me so much that he was giving his life for me. And I was just like unable to love him back in that moment. I was only able to be loved. I just felt like so loved. And I stood up different. I was no longer about myself, insecure. I started doing missions right away. That was like so long ago. And then there's like all these Christians who are like, yay, so I had this moment with Jesus where I got saved and then everything was great. But not everything was great after that. Like I still, my sister did the try to commit suicide thing and she lost some of her frontal lobe. And I just had like a lot of horrible, sorry, I'll read your comments in a second. I had a lot of horrible stuff happen. And man, my there was a guy that I loved, and he died in the hospital. And I really thought like, oh, I'm never gonna get married. Like I don't know that I'm gonna get married anyways, but like it was sad. And but even through that, it's like I couldn't blame God. Like every day Jesus gets better, because every day the world, I see how failing it is, how people can just be rude and they're not living to help other people. And that's what I live for. Like that's what um I do, not because I can. It is literally because Jesus did that for me. Like I go in search of people who were like look like they're having a hard time, and in the back of my mind I'm like, I have so much hope for you because I was so much worse. I was so much more uh critical and sad. So okay, I'll read your comments. I'm sorry. Okay. Still be here. Thank you, Ghost Snail and Mikhail. I used to be blasphemous and enjoyed it. Jesus, he is. I agree. You ran to a belief system that pacified you in immaterial love. The most broken people run to religion not because it heals them, but because it pacifies them. It tells them they're loved, forgiven, saved, but only if they submit. Oh, you've been hurt by people? The truth is that love and acceptance they're chasing was in them all along, but the church doesn't profit off people. I don't even go to church right now, really. But that's interesting. I'm visiting some churches, but I'm not like I went like a whole year not going to church just now. I think you're a bit delusional, bud. Randoodle, what do you believe? Yeah. Well, that I think that is the same perspective I would have because like back then, I'm putting myself back in my shoes. But um I do not want like 1,000 zillion times do not want to talk you into what I believe, Randoodle. Like, I want you to experience what I experienced, or it'll be fake. Like, that's what I see in a lot of Christians, and that's why I have a hard time finding a church that I want to go to because whenever a Christian becomes a Christian because it's like forced on them, or, like if I'm like, believe, 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 and they don't actually experience it, it's like, you know, it's like the, like idealizing a love story versus actually living one. They're two different things. Or, um even writing down maybe like what you want in a person and then meeting a person that you actually fall in love with, those are two different things. Trying to see where yeah, I don't like submitting to um religious stuff either. um doesn't change anything that I'm not in church or you're not in church. Jesus loves us anyways. That's what I believe. And he made you for love. And if you don't want to be loved by Jesus, it doesn't mean that you're not. It's like a baby could be screaming and yelling, but someone can still love it, even if it can't love back. Um, Instead of living your life for you, you are literally spewing pacified statements you have read and been preached to. You can say that. I mean, that's fine if that's what you want to say, but what I am saying is literally an experience that I had, which is opposite of what I experienced growing up. I experienced growing up hearing my father say, F you, F your face, F your dreams, F, you know, everything, be whatever. Like stuff I don't say. I don't even use those words because my dad, used them. And the experience I had with Jesus was not in a church even. I was on my knees on a hill in Mexico, and um just it literally would have been that that moment was such a huge defining point for me that it changed me so much. Like I've been places that other people would be too scared to go, and I'm already like, you know what, Jesus died for me. Like I am willing to go here and risk my life. Like even like when I was in Ukraine, Ukrainians were begging me not to go any farther cuz I was on a team where we were repeatedly doing evacuations on the front lines and we were surrounded by firing. I had such joy and peace, not because um I was so brave, but because of the love of Jesus in me, that it put me in a place where I was willing to do that. And that was an experience for me. It's like I died. Abby is not the person anymore. I am not me anymore. I am now loved. I belong. And the funny thing is all these, like, my brother so against me because he actually turned atheist for a time because of our dad, and he would just like yell cussing and tell me I needed to be an atheist because we grew up and we saw the same things. And I you know I would have been right with him, except I experienced this. And now, like 15 years later, he's now experiencing like slight glimpses of what real love is. Um and so I think we're all on like different journeys. And um yeah, uh I don't believe I I don't believe I'm delusional or anything like that. But if I am just going to say that every atheist and all these critics, they're the most unhappy people I've met in the world. And I'm just like, I am so happy in the craziest situations where I'm risking my life because I am loved by Jesus and I love people so much. And so no one can ever convince me to not believe what I believe. Sorry, let me get back to here. Unfortunately, I learned the church is full of bad people. That's true. People who need a religion to tell them what to do, and the energy was so dark. I learned that you can still love Jesus without it. Yeah. You're not even speaking your own terms anymore. Submitting to Jesus, submitting to a religion. Jesus doesn't require you to be a part of a religion. That's true. Broken people run to religion. Every human in this whole planet is broken. And everyone's turning to something. That's what like sin and addiction is. Like, sin is like a term in the Bible where, it says everyone has sinned and everyone's a slave of sin. Because a sin, when you do it, you have to do it again and you have to do it again. And you need it more and more and more. It's just like an addiction. And sin, like the basic way to say it, is hurting yourself, hurting another, and hurting God. And if you hurt yourself, you hurt God. If you hurt another person, you hurt God. Because we're made in the image of God to be children of God and to have that, higher identity and not be just like, like called a drug addict is not a drug addict. They're a child of God. And so, um, yeah, like all are broken, all are sinning, all are running to something. And a lot of people are really unhappy that I have run to Jesus. And I'm like, I wish this for you. I wish this for everyone, because what you're running to is actually hurting yourself and other people. And it's never going to satisfy you. You have a void in yourself that you're trying to fill with all of this stuff. And, you know, I think a lot of times people even turn to stuff like that because they've been hurt by God. People usually who are so against religion have actually blamed God subconsciously for a lot that's going on in their lives. Like, um it may seem like they're saying, "Oh, God doesn't exist," but actually the whole basis of their religion, which is atheism, is that they've been hurt by God and or a Christian. And that's really sad because really God is love, and the enemy, evil, is what's doing all the bad in the world. And its one desire is to get you bitter and to get you a part of it. So you're joining in the evil and you're joining in the spreading of sadness and criticizing other people and bringing others down. And um I'm not saying you, but I'm saying humanity. This is the way it goes. I feel like I've seen. I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people because I'm traveling all the time. But yeah, this is like a pretty solid theme that a lot of atheists, if they're really honest, like when my brother was finally really honest, he was like, I don't believe in God because God hurt me. and that's okay to admit that. Like, um, so yeah, sorry, let me get back to this. Um, okay, where am I? Religion steps in like a comforting parent. Actually, the Father God steps in like a comforting parent because he is the father of humanity. He is our father. Um, whispering the truth of unconditional love, the truth of forgiveness, the truth of purpose with no strings attached. Um, accept that you're loved. Accept that there's a God that loved you enough to die for you, you know? Much love to you in your journey. Much love to you, Ghost Snail. Um, the experience you're referring to is called a peak experience. It is a well-studied psychological experience. Well, a peak experience, it happens in everything. A peak experience can happen to an athlete. It can happen to um, people in religions. But what I have is like a faith that has stood the test of time. It stood so many people that I love dying. It stood, um, forgiving my dad and taking him back in my life, and um, just like a couple years of sickness, that I just went through. And I went through. I'm I'm a very emotional person, so I went through these times of crying, but every time I could just like sometimes I couldn't even feel God at all. But I would just be like, "You know what? I love Jesus." You know why I love Jesus? Because Jesus loved me when I was, you know, like so opposite of what he, stands for. It wasn't that I was doing all of this stuff, but it was I was turning into something that was so the opposite of love, you know? Um religion, oh, I already read that. The tragedy is the love and acceptance they're starving for. It was inside of them the whole time. And that is why they run after things that enslave them, like sin and addictions. But no one ever taught them to sit with themselves, to nurture their own worth, how to look in. Well, if you're honest with yourself, like if you look in, then you see that the reason you run to all that stuff is because there is a void inside of you. So even though you're saying these words, you know, they're just words, like um if you look inside of you, first off, you know that you're of such intrinsic value, such intrinsic worth, that you're not meant to just die and like be buried in the ground and just like cease to exist. You're meant to live for eternity in a love relationship. And um that's why you do see in yourself. I do believe that you see self-worth in yourself, but I also just like sense from you a lot of like dark things and hidden things, but that's okay. And um like you don't have to even give Jesus a try, but he's gonna pursue you your whole life. Like, and he even says, like, once you hear that, God originally wanted peace for you, Randoodle, he created you for peace, just like he made all humans for peace. But then the reason you can't feel God and experience him and touch him and be touched by love and to feel this love is because sin separates you from God. It puts a distance between God who's perfect and you. And you can try to reach that peak experience with like all of these things, but again and again it's going to be shortcoming, and you're that void inside of you is not going to be filled. And God saw that void, and that's why he sent his only son, who is God, who's worth, you know planets of people. He's God. He can create planets of people. But he loved you so much, and he created you specifically to be in a relationship with him, unlike, animals and aliens. Like, very specifically created you in his image to be in his family. And he gave Jesus to die for you, and Jesus died to take all your sins, to take away the separation that keeps you from actually feeling God and knowing, like, clearly you don't feel him or know him. And you don't have to, because that's the whole point of love. He gave you free will, and he said, run, do all you want, taste the world if you want, just live your life as you want it, but just know I will always love you, and you can still come home anytime. And so, he offers this in Jesus. And the thing is, Randoodle, Jesus did come back to life, and he can come alive inside of you, and you can know him and experience him because he's not dead. Jesus is living, and he's living to find you at every turn and say, I love you. Every chance he gets, he's going to say, I love you. Every pain you experience, he's going to say, I feel that pain, and it hurts me too. And he's always going to be there. And you know what his other promise is that once you hear that, what I just said, it's called the good news. It's good news because, everything else you've said, really, it's not good news, because how good God is, it's so much better than me at my best, than me looking in, oh my gosh, I have so much love. God is so much more love than that. I'm finite. I'm little. You're little. We're one of 8 billion, like you said. But God's love is insane. And now that you've heard those words, it's going to be pursuing you all your life, because the Bible promises that the Holy Spirit is going to tell your heart that this is who you're meant to be. You're meant to be a child of God. And um, you know, I don't want to make you believe that. I just want to tell you it so that the God, his Holy Spirit, his love for you will just continue to try to love you, and you can just spend your whole life trying not to be loved if you want. I don't know. Um ah so the church becomes middleman. Wait. Okay. Oh, I missed some stuff. Where am I at? Okay. The tragedy is, did I already read this? Oh yes, I read that. Randoodle. Okay, you literally said exactly what I said too. You are no longer Abby. I am no longer Abby. I agree with you. And I have to get to that every day, because God asks, like, every day I give God my worst, and he gives me his best every day. Like, that's what Jesus, was crucified, and that's why Christians get baptized, because it's saying, out with Abby and the old, and like, every day is new in Jesus. Every day, love is new, and it's like it's not like a stale marriage, where, like, the couple starts to drift apart, and gets bored and resentful and hateful of each other, and just fighting the most. But every day with Jesus, it's actually like, me, yeah, I do want to die. I want to die the death that Jesus did all the work. He took all the pain, and I get to share in just coming to the end of myself, so that I can have everything. I lay down everything I am for everything he is. Of course, he's he's like amazing and so beyond me. Like, just amazing. So, Randoodle, I agree with you to an extent. Religion comes with love and acceptance with strings attached. That's true. Finding love for Jesus and looking up to him takes no religion. That's true. Randoodle. So the church becomes a middleman between them and their own healing. Some churches do this, capitalizing on their pain. It doesn't teach self-love. It teaches dependence, and that's the con. Um, I'm okay with self-love. Like, okay, self-love, that's cool. I like myself, my personality, but it's so little. Like, I am a human. God is God. And if I would see myself, if I would start saying, I am God, I would literally be like, like ridiculous. Like, I know I'm gonna die, like, and the longest I can live is to 90 and or 100, maybe. But it's for me, okay, self-love. I, like that love I experienced of Jesus. Have you ever had anyone die for you out of love? Like, but Jesus did it as God who wanted to feel everything I feel in this life. He wanted to experience life with me. He wanted to experience my pain. And so he wanted to experience um, even the punishment from every wrong I did, which is what any good father would do. It's not what my father would do, but it's what a good father would do. Like, you know, if I could imagine if I was a mom and someone's like, your daughter, I'm in another country, of course. There's countries where they'll cut off your hand if you steal something. um and if they're like, your daughter did that, then I would be like, yo, take my hand, leave my daughter alone. Like, but this is God who's doing this. It's like a bigger love. And so self-love, okay, that's cool. Like, I'm not like, don't practice self-love or don't love yourself. Although I think it can completely be eclipsed by real love. Like, it becomes like I don't even need to be like look in the mirror and say, I am loved, you are awesome. Like stuff like that, because Jesus loves me, and that's like enough. I don't even need men to tell me that. I don't need men to be like, "Oh, you're beautiful." Like, like you came on first thing ragging on me. Like, I don't care. Like, that's fine. I'm loved by Jesus. So, um, oh, for the record, Randoodle is delusional. I think I don't want to call. I th- I would say delusional. I think he's on a quest for truth. That's what I think. And I think that's a good place to be, because if you're looking for truth and not like set in your ways and actually want to experience it, like talk to truth. Say, "Hey, truth, tell me if you exist. If God exists, tell me." Like, have that conversation. But I mean, I was kind of in like a similar place, at least from this thread, like the whole church stuff and religion. I don't think Jesus would want us to worship him, but to learn from him. Life is learning and soul growth experience. This is good. I don't think Jesus would want us. I do worship Jesus. Like, I do it from this place of being like so loved that it's like if a waterfall is falling on you, then you can just say, "You're awesome. You're so cool. You're the best," And that's just like love. That's what he is. Like, you know, manipulating people into believing they're incomplete without it, when in reality, they were never broken to begin with. They just needed someone to tell them they were enough already. They were already enough. Well, I I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna like argue with that. Like, um, I think that I want to be like so loved that I can't break. And so then I don't need anyone to tell me I'm enough already. And that's what I want for people, I think. Um, hello. Hello, Rishab. Rushka again. Welcome back. Everyone is a sinner feels like a moralized way of saying what's just life. That suffering, imperfection, craving, they're natural parts of the human condition, not defects to be punished. But I mean, we got to take in the whole picture of the world, the justice system, the people who are wrongfully in prison, people who are running free in the streets who have like done stuff, the Hitlers that arise from society, the evil in the world, even like the overconsumption that a lot of people have, even like with polluting the environment and all this stuff, whereas some people are starving. There's this like incredible imbalance in the world, and it is at its core wrong and evil, even though people will say, oh, it's not. And even people who are Christian in the church, they're taking up offerings to build buildings, and there's literally people starving in the world. And there's people promoting self-love and businesses and being millionaires and billionaires, and they're not, helping people. And we have war. We have the war in Ukraine. We have the war, that's causing a lot of the problems in society because, statistics on orphans, they just, they are sadly like some of the most sad casualties of life in general, broken people. And there's so many of them. Broken people, wars, just the worst of the world. That's where we get these orphans. And then if they don't get adopted, can, perpetuate bad things when they grow up. And then there's this like cycle. And if I went around with your ideology, there's going to be thousands, however many children I'm meant to reach in my life, people I want to like bring up. I would be living for self-love. I would be living for me. And I just don't want to be like that. And yeah, so you can say that it's the human condition, but there's evil everywhere, and even people are secretly doing evil things, and even pornography is fueling sex trafficking, even of children who wake up every day, slaves, have to be tortured all day long, and this is their cycle in life, and the industry of pornography promotes that, and people pay for that, and they can say, oh, this is the human condition, people just do this, but they're not seeing like the root cause of that slavery is really a greater evil underneath it. It's like, even though it looks not evil on the surface, it's that, what's underneath it, just like greed and just like building bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, that looks cool on social media, that looks cool, in a great neighborhood, but how does that look in the balance? If you're weighed in the balance, you'll be found wanting because you lived so much for yourself that ultimately your business is going to cut corners, which ultimately in a far off way, even like with our phones, is going to be putting someone in slavery. So it's just like the human condition is not a noble thing where you say, oh, it shouldn't be punished. Actually, if justice exists, like if there's a judge, and a person comes in and says, I'm a good person, I'm just a human condition, um, I'm mostly good, look at my resume. I killed this person, but, you know, I'm mostly good. And then if the judge was like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, look at your resume. Yeah, you go on free. It's okay that you killed that one person. I'll just like overlook that because of the good that outweighs that. That would be a really evil judge. He would lose his job, even in our messed up justice system. He would not, make it. But um a judge, which God is a judge, he has to be a judge because he keeps his area free of every evil. And basically, in judging, he just says, like, come in, because if you come in with evil, it, God is not gonna reward that because he's a judge. And so that's why he gave Jesus to die for that human condition. Jesus became a part of the human condition, but he didn't sin. He didn't add to any evil. He didn't um, ignore the most poor of the world. He actually went to them and he condemned religious people, actually. Um, we all fall short, not because we're broken or evil, but actually, that's a Bible verse. It says, we all fall short of God's glorious standard. Uncertain, calling it sin. No, I already defined sin because I think sin is like a religious word, but sin is hurting yourself, um, hurting God, and all that. If you hurt yourself or others, you do hurt God. If um if you do anything to God, he's already paved the way to forgive you. He gave Jesus to die for it. Just like he's a judge, he cannot righteously and in good conscience just like forgive because he's a judge, and judges are ruled by standards that they have to keep. I do have to I'll read these really quick, but I do have to get off. Someone's calling me, but forgiveness, but understanding that being human is hard, and that's okay. In response to, your religion has stood the test of time, so has patriarchy, poverty, and war. Longevity alone does not make something good or true. That's true, but they're also the human condition. Religion has lasted because it offers structure, comfort, and community, which people deeply need. But it's also endured by adapting, enforcing conformity, as all things in society do, and that is not how Christ is. Like the Bible even says, like, that's not how you learned from Christ. Instilling fear of what happens without it. Just because the old doesn't mean it's beyond questioning. So I guess this just gets down to what's the truth, because you're saying something's the truth, I'm saying something's the truth, and only the truth will prevail. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we can say, oh, well, God shouldn't be able to judge or enforce or whatever. Like, suppose God is this like judge that is just didn't send his son to die for us. Like, suppose this is the truth. Like, just imagine with me. That's the truth. God is this judge. He's going to condemn everyone. They're all going to go to hell for sinning. No Jesus. And then that's the truth, and we're gonna die, we're gonna all go to hell. Like, all that matters is what is the truth. That's what matters. So, um, I think that you find out the truth by asking the truth. Truth, who are you? Reveal yourself to me. And actually, like, if you're so closed off to that, it could be God and Jesus. First off, I would suppose that you've been hurt by a system in a church just to have that wall up, but escape. Persist because they work, but because they made themselves hard to escape. Made themselves. Sorry, I read that too fast. Okay. Snail goes with peace. Ghost snail. I'm dyslexic. I flip things sometimes when I read too fast. With peace and love. Why are you here and entertaining this nonsense? Randoodle, are you drunk, dude? I like good. I love actually talking to Randoodle. I just kind of like the conversation. Just you will not change the minds of others who are set in their beliefs. It only brings negativity your way. Oh, what's happening? Don't assume there is darkness in one's life because they have a different system or way of overcoming. I think, again, it goes back to, is it true or not? Like, this is the truth I have experienced. And for me, it is like experience that literally I've put my life on the line many times for it. And I can say I'm willing to die for it, and I'm willing to live for it, and I'm willing to speak out on it. And I'm willing so much that I would love to just like give my life to just telling orphans that they have a father and he loves them and he can heal them and they don't have to grow up as the statistics where that are highly against them, like in an insane way. And so I have a lot of hope, and in my hope, I share it everywhere I go, and I want everyone to have hope. And um, you seem intelligent spiritually and above this negative attention. Randoodle, surely you can recognize there are very successful and happy people in life who aren't devout to any religion. I'm not saying no one can be happy. I'm saying that no one can be happy um as far as like having this void filled. They're still going to be filling it with something. Which way earlier you said was Jesus for me, but that's for everyone. They're filling it with something. And the problem is when it's not real love and real Jesus, it will be things that do hurt people. And it's just like the fact of, again, the human condition. You're not even saying anything that in your own words. I hope I'm saying the words of Jesus, and I hope I read them from him. I hope that, you're coming off so inauthentic. That's okay that you say that because one day, I don't know, you may not ever believe what I believe, but I do believe that when it's been said to you, you do make a decision. You say yes or no. And you're saying yes or no right now to my words. But I think one time, at least in everyone's life, Jesus will present himself to you in a way that can be tangible and experienced because that's what love would do. And so it's then that you will also have to make that decision. And it can be yes or no. Love, please treat yourself to a comfort. Whether it is a meal or activity, you deserve it. Leave the stream, and you do in life. Much love to you, sweet soul. If you focus on the negativity, you will not grow. Please take care of yourself through the stream and spend time with yourself. Love you, stranger. You read without even considering anything being said to you. You immediately retreat into repeated rhetoric and framework of thinking. Well, also you say this, but I've heard this like 10,000 times. Like everything you're saying to me is kind of like a regurgitated thing. And what I'm saying, it is coming from my heart and it is coming from, and obviously you believe what you're saying is coming from your heart. So I'm not saying that's not true, but I'm just saying like, I don't want a million people to be like that, where immediately, like when we first met, you started like attacking me. Like, first off, I don't want to spread that kind of hope in the world. I want to spread the kind of hope that Jesus spreads, where he loves people right away, and the worst kind of people. Like, you made fun of me, and I can't even imagine who else you make fun of, because there's people who really are struggling with, who they are, whether they should live or not. And I I'm sorry. I would like people to have love so they can treat others kindly. And anything I've said in here is not coming from me just like right away just wanting to like have this conversation with you, but actually um this was a conversation that you opened up, and I'm happy you did, because yeah, like, and I do understand it might go different maybe if you're like a text message right now. Um, take care of yourself. So she's the last and replace her faults and a new set narcissism and negativity tendency. She hasn't yet realized that's introduced yet another impediment in her life. She's so lost and keeps reading the same comments over and over. Disengage the conversation. She really is, and only speaking to herself. This is for her rather than being spitting the good words. She can't even realize she reread the same comment. I'm dyslexic. This is a fact. Randoodle, I think that's just kind of speaks to Tedward Evans. Hi Tedward, Randoodle. I think it's just the kind of speaks to some people's lack of capacity. I don't feel like she's inauthentic, just kind of cognitively lacking. And somewhat that. Go Snail, please be kind. Randoodle, you can see she's struggling, but trying. Must I even care to try? She will get there. Retracted. Yes, you're both aren't wrong, but this is an opportunity to reach out and have her hear a voice outside of her bubble. Randoodle, I would love for you to travel the world. Like, go to like some impoverished places and go to disaster zones. And, I have been there. And when you get there, you're not gonna help anyone by starting off this kind of conversation. But, like, I hope if you go, you give people help and hope and be who you're meant to be. I'm off for a tough love, but there's a way to get about it that will get you heard. All the evil things people she lost listen committed and devout religious people, yet some dissonance. I'm reading you guys are having a straight up conversation about me in the comments. She just compared murder with imperfection and minor suffering. The goal was to just talk about God, but that's okay. It's the judgment of God, which some people have a seriously insufficient operating system. I think that's what. Wow, that's awesome. 135 countries is awesome. Okay, I'm just gonna close up, but you guys can stay or go, but I'm gonna pray for you. And yeah, Jesus, I just pray for these awesome people on here, Lord. And yeah, Jesus, I just thank you that you're so big and you're so loving. And yeah, Jesus, I just ask you for a heart you're like yours that, just sees this kind of stuff and just sees through it to your kids that you love and that you care about, Lord. And that, you died for, Jesus. And yeah, I just ask that you would help them at least start on a journey to encouraging people everywhere they go and not trying to hurt people, but, be who they're meant to be and men of purpose and power and dignity. And yeah, Jesus, I just ask that you would just surround them in their rooms and their houses with your love that it just sees through everything, that can see into everything they even hide from others. And yeah, Jesus, I just pray for all that you are to just love them in incredible ways. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, I gotta go, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for the conversation. And I'll see you next time for my 1,170 days running for War Orphans. Bye.